Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Fire Up Florida. Am I fired up? Sure, I have a voice, at least at the beginning. We'll see if I have it at the end. But anyways, please be joined by my colleagues, George Eichhorn. Welcome back to the big show.
All right, good to be here. Thank you.
And last but not least, my designated co-host, Rod Peterson. Welcome back to the show, Big Rod.
Good to see you, Scott. Good to be here. In this business, good to be anywhere. Right, George?
Right.
All right, well, Joshua Dorr and Blows 22, they've been waiting a long time, and these guys' eyes is probably a little bit of an eternity. We'll let everybody know what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about what the title says of the Tampa Bay Lightning for sale. We're going to talk about a trade that we're going to revisit between the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. And then we're going to talk about the ongoing saga about professional hockey in Arizona. But this time I'm not talking Phoenix. And we'll even give a shout out to the Little League champs from Lake Mary, Florida at the very end of the broadcast. So with that said, okay, let's talk about an organization that I don't like because I wrote for the competitor, okay? And they took my paper, which was the Tampa Tribune, and it's out of business. Nevertheless, I have to talk about it because that's what the business says. I have to do reluctantly. But the Tampa Bay Times reported on August 13th that the Lightning owner, Jeffvinik, is working to sell his majority stake in the team. The franchise value is listed at $2 billion. Once the sale is completed, Vinik is expected to retain full operational control, plus a significant stake in the ownership group. A great deal for Jeff. He's earned it. All right, well, the man that broke the news is Rod Peterson. Tell me more about it.
Well, Tampa Times broke it. I just repeated it. I don't want to take credit for that. But it was really big news in the summertime here. Not very often do NHL teams come up for sale, guys, as you probably know. And I think the biggest thing out of that whole story, well, two, is that Jeffvinik no longer wants to own the Tampa Bay Lightning, and two, that it's worth $2 billion. I'd have to dig up what he paid for that franchise. But all I can say is it's a great deal for Jeff. It's the column that I wrote in the South Florida Tribune, that he has earned this opportunity if that's what he wants, and he's still going to maintain full operational control. I think that's the deal that we all want in life. Sell our company, but continue to work for it, right? And I know a lot of people that have worked for him, and they love him. So I think it's a good deal for everybody all around.
Before we go to George, let's look at, we got more comments. Walter Mitchell finally got my message for you for a new video. Wow. All right. Very good, Walter. Great to hear that. Joshua Dorr, last week it was discussed that the Cup made its way to Milwaukee. It's worth noting South Florida Tribune Fire Up. The Cup has returned and made its way through South Florida this past week. Yeah, of course it gets around. So he says it was in Deerfield Beach today, Boca, and Fort Lauderdale over the weekend. All right. Good to know, Josh. George, let's talk about what's going on in Tampa Bay with Mr. Vinik.
Yeah, that's interesting because, there's a lot of good hockey people out there, and in a way, if his heart's not in it, or he could be facing some financial dealings that he wants to get rid of the hockey part of it, if you will. I mean, I know that's been a great franchise. Let's just be honest. I mean, come on, the last decade has been really, really good. But even beyond that, when Scott and I knew a fellow named Bill Davidson that owned the Tampa Bay Lightning way back in the day, and he brought a cup there. But anyways, back to Jeffvinik. I mean, we don't know what goes on in the minds of a lot of people in the hockey world, and like you said, there are not that many that come to light very often as far as wanting to sell their share or sell the entire team. That's not something that happens every day, as we know in professional sports, because these teams make a mint. These teams are money makers for the most part. You got to have good people managing, good general manager, good president of hockey operations. But if Vinik Sports Group doesn't want to be part of it, I'm sure there'll be some very interested parties that would want to step in, because that is a great franchise there. And yes, I do rate them above the Panthers.
Yeah, the bottom line is, George, you make a really, really good point. And for a lot of folks that, didn't follow the Lightning back then, Bill Davidson did go ahead and buy the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think he's the first owner, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, that won a championship in two separate sports. I believe he ended up, we all know what he did with the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, but then he ended up winning it with the Lightning. So that's an excellent point. So once upon a time, former Detroit Pistons owner Bill Davidson owned the Lightning, and obviously he's done a marvelous job with the Pistons. Good point, George. I really like that one. So, in terms of, the Lightning are always going to be fine because it's Steveyzerman who ended up building it. Now he returned to Detroit, trying to work the same success there. So, there's a lot of interesting moving parts. But yeah, like Rod said, the reality of the situation is this, okay? What businessman wouldn't mind selling the franchise and get to work for it? Come on, seriously?
That's the dream we all want. Which, by the way, I also think Bill Davidson owned a Canadian Football League team. You'd have to look that up, but I think he did in the 90s, and I worked 20 years in the CFL. That's why the name stuck with me. But we're going to have to bring up, before we go off the air tonight, I've spent my last weekend in Canada, and there's a lot of guys know that I'm working with the South Florida Tribune up here, hockey guys. But there's a lot of Detroit fans here, gentlemen. I said, watch out for the Red Wings this year. And you all been saying that for 5 years. So I said, until you guys get back, I'm not going to even have them in the playoffs yet. So I just wanted to throw that out, George. Wings fans, they have a lot to say.
Well, the people are optimistic, and I know that's another subject for another show.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know why, but
no.
Well, you don't have to apologize. The bottom line is you're in the situation. You want to see it to believe it. So, bottom line is I'm not picking them to get in or out. I just want to see it. There aren't many packages I renew, but the NHL ticket is definitely one of them, and I do get it as well. All right, let's go back to the chat room. Okay, we'll see if we can go ahead and make some sense. Yes, 3 Sports Scott. There you go. There's a correction at. Okay, I think we've got. Brooks, we're getting some updates about where the cup is gone. Let's keep it going, Candy. Yeah, that's true. He did win one with the Detroit Shock. So there you go. Right. Give him his due. Good stuff, Walter. Appreciate you bringing that in there. I think a lot of times people back then don't give the WNBA credit as they do now because of all that's going on. But once upon a time, there was a Detroit Shock. Excellent point. With that said, let's talk about a trade that's being revisited August 9th, 1988. And then after that, we go to a station break. The Los Angeles Kings, receive Waynegretzky, Martymcsorley, mikekrushelnyski. Once again, August 9th, 1988. Edmonton receives Jimmycarson, martingelinas, 1989 first-round pick Jason Miller. 1991 first-round pick Martin Rusinski, 1993 first-round pick Nick Stujujar. All right, I hope I didn't do too bad. All right, so here's the question that I'm going to that with you, Rod. Other than the fact I did a pretty good job butchering that name, although that wasn't easy, so I'll give myself a mulligan. Who got the best of that trade, Rod?
It's Nick Stujujar. You did pretty good.
Don't expect
interesting
me to repeat
that you would bring that up because the we just passed the anniversary. The 30. I'm really bad at math, but the anniversary was August 9th, 1988. And off the top of this show, when you said we're going to revisit a trade between the Oilers and the Kings, I'm like, well, there's only one that matters. The biggest trade in the history of hockey. And I just heard this recently. I don't know. I would love to get you guys' opinion. Somebody said to me, if you want to know who won a trade, it's the team that got the best player. I'm not sure I really agree with that. It was the first I heard of it, but I'm like, I can kind of go along with that. The Oilers would win a Stanley Cup 2 years later, despite departing with Gretzky, but it changed the game of hockey forever in 2 ways. One, it grew hockey in America, which Canadians have a problem with. And 2, what that did was it proved anybody can be traded. Any sport. Yeah. There are no untouchables. So I would say the Kings won the trade. Oilers still think they did. And Walter with a good comment, the NHL won it. And don't ask my wife. Listen, when you bring my wife Serena on, don't ask her about the trade, okay? Unless you want to fight. She calls it the worst day of her life. Yeah.
All right, Walter, just a little FYI coming from the man here. Okay, the trade that put hockey as a mass communication sports nationwide in America. That's a good point. I like that comment. D. Lowe's, fun fact, D. Lowe's brother played, hockey with Martingelinas' daughter. Okay, I like that one. Rod, did you catch a picture of the fresh ice and sunrise? I don't know.
You said the new ice in the rink. So, yeah, I saw the picture of it. And I saw that the cup was at the Cove in Deerfield, which is like my second home. So I'm not happy that I missed it. It was at the War Memorial on the weekend, on the weekend with Dmitry Kulikov. So yeah, it's making its way. I'm back Monday. I'm hoping to run into it somewhere around town. But to answer your question, the Kings won the trade because they got the best player.
Well, that's a good question. That's why I brought this topic in, because I knew it was going to be a lightning rod. Okay, and yes, there's a pun intended, lightning rod. How's that sound? Okay. What can I tell you? Also, Jeff Chitrin was my coach. All right, George, who won the trade?
Well, I'd have to say Los Angeles. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is that, they had a team since, what was that expansion year? 69 or something?
66.
66. Okay. So then you're telling me that how many years? 22 years later, they got their hands on Gretzky. I mean, all I'm saying is that is a long time to wait to give that oomph to the American West Coast teams to try to make it and make it better. But it was a gutsy move. Let's face it. It was a very gutsy move, not only for Wayne, but it was for both teams as well. Oilers got so much in return, and the fact that they did win a Stanley Cup with the new players. Gretzky never won a Stanley Cup in Los Angeles. Okay. It never happened. He didn't win one in Phoenix. That's another story for another day. But I'm just saying, I see where you're going with this one, though, guys, to pump up the American audience, to pump up the intercontinental lure, if you will, of ice hockey, professional hockey in America. That trade had to be made. I mean, that trade, and Wayne went along with it, but it did shake up. The Canadian audience, I'm sure, because that was their boy. Oh, just like Gordiehowe was, but he played in Detroit. But I mean, Gretzky played in Canada. He played in Edmonton all those great years and all those great teams. That had to be a blow. Am I not mistaken, Rod? To see him
Oh
go?
my God, yes, but the underlying tone. No. They still talk about it, my friend. We're at a point now when the anniversary passed on August 9th. Nobody talks about it anymore. It's not that they forgot. It's that it still hurts that too much. 30 some odd years later, whatever it is. But I want to say what people don't understand, and I think it was brought up in the King's Ransom documentary, the 30 for 30, about this trade. Yeah. Peter Pocklington, the owner, needed money. You just mentioned all the players and picks that went back and forth. There was a lot of cash too. And that's why the trade was made. Peter Pocklington was teetering on bankruptcy and needed the money. And that's why, I can't even tell you, because I get arrested, what people have said about Pocklington. Oiler fans.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, you know what? I'm going to say something Walter Mitchell brought up that probably validates both your points. Well, think of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Let's go ahead and put that one back up there, Candy. Anaheim Mighty Ducks is the Sharks. Go ahead and put the teams that were involved. Oh, that's one of them. That's made a Canadian hockey world. Okay, there you go. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks, the Sharks, and the Florida teams. That's how much it's brought in here. I'll tell you what, though. I'm going to go a different way than you guys. Okay, you ready? I'm going to say the Edmonton Oilers won this trade. And I'm going to tell you why. You win a Stanley Cup without Wayne Gretzky and you get all that cash? Can't make out that bad out there. You really think about it. Yeah. Peter Pocklington's getting all this money, and he's winning a Stanley Cup with Jimmy Carson. Nothing to get Jimmy Carson. But let me ask you, wasn't Mark Messier still on that team?
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
Well, that's all I'm telling you.
Yeah, because Messier won Stanley Cup, 5 with the Oilers and 1 with the Rangers. But, well, here's the thing. The Oilers fans don't give rats about hockey in America. So to say that it was great for the NHL, they don't care about that. Like it literally broke their heart to say goodbye to Wayne for all the reasons that George said. So I'm saying you haven't convinced me, Scott, but good try. I'm still saying the Kings won the trade.
Well, Rod, it's not my job to convince you anyways, because you have an opinion and I have one. And on this show, they both count. So it doesn't matter.
And you mentioned his wife, Janet, who I see at the games in Sunrise all the time because they live in West Palm. She was being referred to as Yoko Ono at the time. And you need to be of a certain vintage to get the reference.
Well,
the late George. Well, you guys convinced John Lennon to leave the Beatles. Not popular.
The bottom line is not my job to convince you. You got an opinion. Everybody loves your opinion anyway. Look at the chat room. You think I brought this much attention to the chat room? No, you did. Because all these people are craving for a hockey show, and now I gave it to them. And I gave them the Wayne Gretzky of commentators and you. Me, what the hell am I?
Question for the group who got to see Wayne. Well, first of all, I appreciate being part of this. And my very first NHL game was 1984 in the Edmonton Northlands Coliseum. My dad took his 3 boys. I was the youngest of 3 boys to watch it. Greg Millen was in goal for the Blues. Andy Moog was in goal for the Oilers. And I was upset that Grant Fear didn't start for Edmonton. And Wayne Gretzky played from the red line forward. He did not come back. And my older brother said to me, if Gretzky played for me, he didn't play defense. I said, you would. We haven't talked for 3 years. We just don't get along on things. But Gretzky was in the first game I ever saw in 1984.
Wow. Oh, very good. Good stuff.
Very good.
All right, so let's keep going up here. I want to see if I talk my way through missing it. I want to make sure we acknowledge everybody. Rod, when are you going to get Scott credentials for the home games this year? Okay, I know they keep asking all that.
I'm worried about me, let alone
Scott.
Scott.
Don't worry about him. Don't worry about me. I'd rather Rod get him because, if he gets them, I'm okay. If I get in there, well, it's what you call that song, Searching for a Miracle, and I'm not worried because I have no shortage of places to go. So it's okay. As long as Rod gets in, I'm okay. I'll take the cover, but I appreciate the net. But, the reality of situations is, look at this. You got Rod. I'm seeing double, triple, quadruple. It doesn't matter. At any rate, I know we're due for a station break, okay? And you know who that is. Scott, we won. All right. Enemy Terry. Put that one back up, Scott. He won the cup, but he's an enemy terror in Edmonton. The E's are killing me. Sometimes the best move isn't the move, perception-wise. Well, might be right. Bottom line is the Oilers got a cup, and they haven't gotten one for a while. And the Panthers do. All right, now we'll bring on Candy for the station break.
If you are listening tonight, you are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see a red subscribe button, click it, like it, share us with all your friends and family. We actually published a book late last year called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by none other than Scott Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. The foreword is written by George Eichhorn. All kinds of great stories about Scott's 40-plus years in the media business and how it has changed. Get your copy on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Google, and Apple Books. We also have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where Scott writes, Rod writes, and George writes. Kindle, Barnes & Noble. And I take pictures. And you go to the website, you can see all of the great articles. We also, if you like to listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, you can find us. We have we have an apparel store that has a link on our website. You can buy a sweatshirt, a t-shirt that has our logo, South Florida Tribune, on it, or the Motor City Madmouth logo. Go to our website, go to the store, purchase something today. That's it for station identification for now.
Okay, you know what, Josh, adore no disrespect to anyone else on this channel, but Rod is top-ranking broadcaster on this channel. You know what? I have no problem with that. Hey, listen, reality is Rod and I were able to find one another on social media, and he's on this channel, and I only bring on winners. So, you know what? I have no problem with that. If you feel like you're happy with them, I know I'm happy with them anyways. It is what it is. All right, Scott, he wrote a book. Yeah, people are getting to know that by now. And D. Lowe's has a programming down. Monday, we talk hockey and baseball. And Tuesday, look at this guy, D. Lowe's. He knows our schedule pretty good. All right. With that said, do you think we're done with the Arizona Coyotes yet? Do you think we're done with hockey in Arizona? No, but after tonight, we will be. Okay, because I'm sick and tired of it, but I still have some unfinished business to talk about there. Alex Meruelo will be relocating the Tucson Roadrunners to Reno, Nevada in 26-27. George Eichhorn, some thoughts about the Roadrunners going to Reno. And by the way, Lake Tahoe is not far. And for those of you who want to know about the Olympics, what was it? Let's see, I'm trying to remember. Was it Squaw Valley? I think it was.
Squaw Valley, yeah.
Right, okay. George, what are your thoughts about Alex Meruelo's last act in Arizona headed to Nevada?
Oh, I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I mean, so in other words, he thinks he's going to have better, obviously, attendance and better coverage and better this and better that. I mean, I know it's a growing state. Let's face it. I mean, Nevada has really, really got on the sports map, as we all know, in the last 10 years or less. with the expansion teams, with the new beautiful stadiums and arenas they built. But boy, oh boy, you talk about Reno, Nevada. Reno is not close to Las Vegas, but it will be a natural rival. I mean, if you play a team in another part of the state, but all I'm saying is that this is not the NHL. This is a minor league team, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question would be is, what is their reason? Why do they want to leave Tucson?
Probably because they've run that into the ground just like they did the Coyotes.
No potential audience, no potential.
They've burnt the market. And two things out of that. Number one, I had a kid come up to me this morning. Again, I'm in Canada. He said he's a Coyotes fan. He goes, I heard you guys talk about the Utah NHL team. He goes, I'm a Coyotes fan. I said, how in the world are you a Coyotes fan? He goes, well, they went to the West Final in 2012, and I've been a fan of theirs ever since. He goes, now I'm a Utah fan. But they're referring to the Utah NHL team, in Canada anyways, I've heard it in a couple of weeks, is the Utah Coyotes, because they don't have a name yet, which I feel they've screwed that up. They're not going to have a name this season. They're going to call them the Utah Hockey Club, and I think that's a major whiff by them to not name the team. Somebody said they didn't have enough time. I'm like, you had enough time, in my mind.
I think they did too, but I think one of the reasons could be maybe they're going to save that Coyotes name if they get another team, and then they'll be called the Coyotes.
No, you know what? I don't, George, I'm way off base with you on that one. First of all, I'm joining Rodney on this one. Okay, Rod, whatever you can call Rodney. Here's the deal. Okay, number one, Rod, you're right. Arizona's been burnt to the ground. Okay, if they really have. I mean, they were burnt to the ground. All you had left was Tucson. Tucson's a great area, but they don't want nothing to do with Arizona. Period. Okay. Now, I mean, that's all there is to it. Item number one. Item number two, don't sell Reno short. And I mean, don't do it. The University of Nevada is up in Reno, the Wolfpack. And you know who coaches that basketball team? Steve Alford. Okay, They really do. And college football, University of Nevada, Wolfpack against UNLV. So there won't be a hockey rivalry in the state of Nevada. If anything, maybe the best case scenario down the road. And Rod, correct me if you disagree, I'm okay. Who's to say down the road if Meruelo is not the owner? And that's the key, is that the Vegas Golden Knights don't have Reno as their top farm club instead of where it's at now.
Well, the Golden Knights farm club is in Henderson, Nevada, which is across the street from Vegas. There's the Henderson Silver Knights. So there could be a rivalry there between Henderson, Nevada and Reno and the American Hockey League. But the rink Henderson, they just built it. It only holds 5,000. They sell it out every night. It's not like they're hurting to sell tickets. But I'll tell you this. I don't know if I mentioned this on recent shows. I've talked to Bill Foley, the owner of the Golden Knights, when they were getting the team off the ground and since. And they were praying for a rivalry with the Coyotes. And from the get-go, we know the Golden Knights have been good. And the Coyotes terrible for a decade. So now they're sitting there in Vegas praying that Utah will at least get their act together because Vegas doesn't really have a rival. They were hoping it would be the Coyotes. Didn't happen. Everybody in NHL hates the Golden Knights if you've been following that story. But they don't have a real regional rival. They're hoping it'll be Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? I'm not surprised it went Utah Hockey Club the first year. I don't know whether they did have enough time or not. They seem to have narrowed it down to 10 or 12 names. So I'm beginning to wonder, why didn't they? You know what? How many is it now? 5?
6.
Oh, okay. So you've got 6. I don't know. Maybe they need some future PR down the road. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. I'm stumped on that.
I don't know about it.
But no. They're saying they didn't have enough time, and that one of the names is the Yetis, and everybody thinks it's going to end up being the Yetis, which is a breed of Sasquatch. So they're basically saying we're going to sell a bunch of jerseys in the first year that says Utah Hockey Club, and then we're going to sell a bunch more next year when we name the team. Which is kind of. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I am glad that Reno is getting a team. It's a pretty good-sized market there. Listen, I've been to Reno, and I've also been to Vegas. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Rod. Isn't Tim Tebow trying to get a minor league team in Lake Tahoe, if I heard correctly?
Hockey team?
Yeah.
First I heard of it.
Okay. Well, I thought I had heard. I'll have to double check. I'm not one to make up news. I thought that Tim Tebow was going to do it. I don't know. I'm just speculating that I thought we'll have to check up on it later. Don't look at me as a news source that Lake Tahoe's getting a team at all. I just thought I heard that Tim Tebow was going to get involved, and I'll clarify it if it comes necessary at a later date. But the bottom line is I am glad Reno's getting a team. And yes, the second thing, like you said too, Rod, okay, Arizona is a burnt hockey market, and that's it.
They're not going back.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Thank you. Okay. All right. We talked hockey so far, and he suggests, you know what? Joshua Bernstein brought up an interesting thing in the chat room today, so I'm going to kind of bring it up as an auxiliary topic, okay? And that's this. And then I want to give a shout out to the Little League champs from Lake Mary, Florida. The players are saying that they don't want to shoot out, okay? You know what, Rod? I have no problem with the shoot. I don't care what the players want. The player's job is what to do two things: show up, play hard, and get paid. Okay. I have zero problem with the shootout. Do you?
No problem with the shootout at all. And the workers don't make the decisions. The owners do, as you say. We're old enough to remember, and I don't know if these guys in the chat room are old enough to remember. Do you remember why they brought it in? We used to have ties,
right?
A lot of them in the NHL. And it was because of Americans need a winner and a loser. We can't have these ties. Right. So, they went to the shootout because they knew it would end games. And it's exciting. I was a goalie. Okay. So how many times do the goalies be made to look bad in shootouts? Only everyone, because of the moves and everything. The goalie's at the disadvantage. But whatever, we're still going to have them, and they're exciting, and they end games, which is what we wanted. Are these players that are complaining providing an alternative? Because I don't know what the alternative would be to shootouts.
Okay. Let's go back to the chat room. I guess Candy Ebling saying I'm right about this. So here you go, Rod. Tim Tebow, the former Heisman Trophy winner 2007, ever popular ESPN college football analyst, has ventured into the professional sports ownership area once again with a minor league team they known as Tahoe Night Monsters, based out of State Line, Nevada. So there you go. I did hear about that. You didn't know about that, huh?
No.
Well, now
didn't hit my radar.
Well, it has now. That's what we learn about the show. It's all about education and learn. The franchise will begin playing the fall in the East Coast Hockey League, ECHL, which is the secondary developmental feeder league in the National Hockey League, with the newly built 4,200-seat Tahoe Blue Event Center serving as Team Home Arena. There you go. So there we go. Have it. There you go. So now let's go back to George. Shootout, like it or not?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good for hockey. I mean, the rules changed several years ago, as we know. Kenny Holland was one of the big voices in that whole changeover for the first, 5 minutes? 4 on 4?
3 on 3 now.
3 on 3.
Yeah. Ken Holland, what Ken Holland told me when he was down here says, I hate the 4 on 4. Give me a 3 on 3. I'm happy with it.
I remember that. You interviewed him on that. Yes, you did. And wrote about it. But yeah, the shootout, I like it. I think it's something that is very exciting to the fans. And yeah, I mean, it is, it's a 50-50 shot. If you're lucky to, one team's going to win, one's not, but still, I mean, you got to use your skills, use your best skaters, your best goal scorers. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't to get you the winning goal. I mean, in the shootout, but it's good. It's fair. I like it.
Yeah, but if you've ever been to an NHL All-Star game, all you have to do is look at the skills competition and the shooting accuracy either way, and then you'll understand why the shootout's important. So, Joshua sent me a text about it earlier. I said, I'll try to get it in if I have the time. All right, going back to the Wings, they missed playoffs on a tiebreaker. I believe it was quirky overtime goal thing. There you go. You guessed right, Walter. Thanks. Okay, so, it's interesting. I've always wondered about the shootout. I have no problem with it. Me personally, I didn't have a problem with ties, but yes, in America, we all want winners, and that's exactly why it was all brought into play in the first place. All right, now, with that said, since this is a Florida show, Fire Up Florida, we have an obligation, at least in our minds, to provide a shout out to the new Little League champs from Lake Mary, Florida. Now, I should point out that this is the first time that Florida has won in 9 tries, and they ended up beating Chinese Taipei, which has won 17 times. So George Eichhorn, some thoughts about Florida winning for the first in 9 times.
Oh, well, I got a text from my friend Lauren, and she's saying to me down in Florida, she says, "Oh, you watching the game?" And I says, "No, I actually forgot it was on." But no, I put it on after she had reminded me. I think it's great. I think it's great for Florida. It's great for all the kids. I mean, Florida's a great state for of course, for baseball, as we know throughout the century, if you will, and the host of so many different great international tournaments and all that. But the I tell you what, those kids worked their butts off, and both teams did. Chinese Taipei, like you said, Scott, they won 13 times, unbelievable record in their history. And the United States is nothing to be ashamed of. They've had a lot of victors, but I like the method. I like how the matchups go, the formatting. They call it the pool, of course, of the teams, and they stick the international in one section and the North America or whatever in the other section. So what it does is then comes down to this final weekend, which you're alluding to, and that was the final game, if you will, the Florida against Taipei. So hats off. Both teams deserved to win. It was a great game. They both played very, very hard. And it went into extra innings, of course. 8 innings is extra. Yeah.
Yeah, D-Loves, you're right. It's a hockey show, not baseball. Bottom line is called Fire Up Florida. I will leave it at that. But point well taken. Correct. Florida on the Little League World Series, especially the grace they showed in controlling the other side after the weirdness of how it ended.
Yeah, neither one of you brought up how it ended. Like, how do you not cover first? How do you not cover first base? What a way to lose a game.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? We have the baseball show. We're going to get into more details later tonight. This was just a shout out.
You brought it up.
I know I did. And you certainly made sure everybody in the whole world knows I did. That's a shout out. What can I tell you? Well, do you have any opinions on this?
No. Other than, listen, guys, you know that I've been up here calling baseball this summer, and we made it to the championship final game, game 3 of a best of 3. And if you can, very similar play, our second baseman was covering second base. He, on a double play, he threw it into the dugout. And the ump awarded the base runner 3 bases, which was a run, and we lost by 1 run. And our manager got kicked out. And we still haven't figured out if the ump got it right or not. It was very similar to that league championship, bottom of the 9th. Oh, my gosh. So that was painful for me to see. Happy for Lake Mary, but you don't get over losses like that. It was a league championship game.
All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go close and personal here with Rod Peterson. I want everybody to know what you have been doing all summer with your broadcasting up in Canada. You said you've been doing play-by-play. I know we've talked about hockey a lot, but this is an opportunity for everybody out there to get to know you on a different level. How does that sound? And talk about what you've been doing up in Canada with baseball.
Well, I appreciate that. I got to be quick because it says my battery's about to die. But no, I just said to my wife, it's too hot in Florida. Do you mind if I go to Canada in the summer? She goes, I'll pack your bags. Go. And I went up there, and my business manager runs the baseball team. It's an NCAA collegiate team here. And he said, we need a broadcaster. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. I never done baseball, but I played it. And we had a great season, went all the way to the league final. And that's why I spent the summer up here. And I'm coming back on Sunday for the winter to cover the Panthers for our show and the wonderful South Florida Tribune.
All right. Well, since your battery's about to die, we'll let everybody know how they get a hold of you at the top of the hour. Just, we have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So go ahead, let everybody know how they get a hold of you, Rod.
That's just at Rod Peterson. They see it on the screen. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Rod. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Thanks.
Great job, guys. Good talking to you.
See you next Tuesday. Yes. Okay.
All right, George. We will take it home and see Rod next Tuesday when he comes back to the States.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Rod, for being with us tonight. You can find me.
He told me not to leave ahead of time, so.
Well, I'm glad you're still on here, Rod. You want to hear the rest of it, or you want to?
Yeah, later. I just don't want to screw up your. I don't want to screw up your download or upload or whatever. So.
Oh no, you're not screwing up nothing. I'm glad that you're here. It doesn't make any difference. It's okay. But anyway, George, there you go. Now he's got some juice. All right, stick around.
All right. And
I knew he'd make his way inside to do it. Go ahead, George. And by the way, just a programming note that Fire Up Florida will be on next Tuesday night because of the Labor Day holiday. It will proceed inside the pigskin, which will start around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So that'll give everybody an opportunity to enjoy the Labor Day weekend. Candy, Emily, and I will be covering the Florida Gators and the Miami Hurricanes over the weekend up in Gainesville, so that should be a lot of fun as well.
Excellent.
All right, so George, let everybody know how
Yeah.
they can get a hold of you.
All right, you can find me on the Motor City Tribune, which is part of the South Florida Tribune Network. Drill down on the Motor City Tribune. I've got a book that I wrote, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, capturing over, probably almost 100 years of broadcasting in Michigan. There's a picture of it right there. There's a link to that book if you'd like to purchase it at the end of my column. And also, you can find Scott in the book, too, a much younger version of Scott, and myself, too, much younger, by the way, that book. Anyways, reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can also get a hold of me on X, which is SandGSports99. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, or on Facebook. So been part of this guy's in this guy, Scott. I'm pointing the wrong way, but anyways, we go back almost 45 years, right around there. A long time ago, we started the Sports Exchange, and it's been a great partnership. Scott, always a pleasure to be on with you and Rod.
And D. Lowe's is trying to give you a dress lesson, George. If you say hats off, you have to take your hat off. Okay, there you go.
There you go, D. Lowe's.
And Jesse Stover hasn't gotten to second base. I don't know, whatever that means. Okay. All right, Candy. All right, Candy, take us home.
So, if you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not subscribed to our channel yet. I do not know why you haven't, but please do so. And share us with all your friends. Monday night, we typically talk hockey on Fire Up Florida, although next week, yes, programming noted, it'll be on Tuesday night. Following this show tonight will be 108 Stitches baseball talk. Tuesday nights, we talk football inside the pigskin. Wednesday nights is Sports Exchange. Thursday night, Fire Up. You never know what we're going to be talking on either of those two shows. Anything from sports, NHL, NBA, WNBA, hockey, football, baseball,
basketball.
contest. You never know. Anything goes on those 2 nights. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts if you like to listen to it. iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Spotify, Deezer, all of those places. We have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can find a plethora of information. Scott writes, Rod writes, George writes. I take pictures. There's some videos there. There's transcripts from the Dolphins, the Jaguars, the Lions. We get releases from the Florida Panthers. We get releases from the Miami Marlins. You name it, go there, find us, check us out. There is a link to our sports store, to our store, where you can get a baseball cap or a sweatshirt that says South Florida Tribune, and you can go out, buy it. We also have a link to a book that our host wrote. Scott Morganroth wrote Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It talks about his 40 plus years in the media business and how it has changed. You can buy your copy on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, or Apple Books. Scott, what am I missing?
X, Twitter, at Tribune South. Big deal. You haven't mentioned
There you go.
And
one
like
last thing. Scott, one last thing.
Sure.
Tuesday nights, 7:30. If you like to listen to Chicks Talking Sports, come see 3 Chicks in a Pod or Chicks in Salsa. We talk sports. It's me, Megan Price, the Queen of Hoops, Jen Matthews Lewis, who talks Carolina Panthers, and Carrie, she talks Chiefs Chicks. And then there's me, and you never know what I'm talking about because I talk about Wisconsin, Florida, you name it. Come listen to us tomorrow at 7:30 p.m.
And don't forget Megan Price. She's pretty good too. So
I did. The Queen of Hoops.
All right. Oh, there you go. All right. Just goes to show you. You ever heard of that word called dementia, spelled D-U-M-B-M-E-N-T-I-A? I just made it up. So that's where I had the Megan Price mess up. Go ahead, Rod.
No problem.
You learned a new word tonight. And by the way, in case you didn't keep up with Candy verbally, it's all down at the bottom anyways. So on that, what do you call it? The I don't know
Ticker.
what you call it. Ticker. There you go. It's on the ticker. So if you heard it, one thing you can read it. So anyways, what a show tonight with my dynamic duo joining me. Good participate in the chat room as well. Walter Mitchell was strong. D. Lowe's was strong. Joshua Dorr was strong. Blake Lowe's was strong. And if I miss anybody, well, I appreciate everybody's participation. Any closing thoughts from either of you two, Rod?
No, it goes faster and faster. I can't wait for hockey season to start. The show goes by so fast. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Somebody asked earlier if I like it, and I do. That's the best part of this, is connecting with the fans and the readers. So thanks for watching.
Well, yeah, thanks for watching. And once again, Rod is good at broadcast. He does a great job writing. So don't kid yourself. I'm not the only one that makes up topics. You know, if I find something that Rod comes up with that I think is an asset, whatever we come up with, I'll take suggestions everywhere. So on that note, on behalf of George Eichhorn, Rod Peterson, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up Florida. And we will catch you next Tuesday night with more information. And no, I won't be talking about the Coyotes in any way, shape, or form. We'll come up with some new hay for the next day. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Scott.